This is a crazy, and I mean truly crazy experience that my friend endured while he worked as a bouncer in Seattle. The show at the venue that night was a rap and EDM show, and the crowd's average age was 18 through 25. We were briefed that in these type of shows there tends to be rampant drug use and spasmodic behavior of the patrons. Our orders were simple enough. If we caught them using drugs or if they seemed as though they were a hazard to other people, they get the boot. So, the show began and we already kicked out around 6 people doing various drugs in the bathroom. Most of them were compliant and went out without any issues. And near the halfway mark of the show, I was at the bar looking for people who would pass drinks to minors. I spotted a man dressed up in all black with a weird face mask with beads arranged like a skull on it, and he was talking to a young woman who was dressed with nothing but a sports bra and multicolored ripped yoga leggings. Both of them had drinking wristbands on, so they were fine in terms of legally drinking. And with that situation being clear, I looked around to see if there was anything else that stuck out. However, upon glancing back, the young woman turned towards the crowd and bursted out in dancing, while the man received the drinks. And when the man received the drinks, I could have sworn I saw him open up a capsule and pour a white powdery substance into one of the drinks. Instantly, my instincts kicked in, and I moved towards the man. The music was obnoxiously loud and the lights were cutting in and out with the beat, making it hard for me to focus in, as it was visually almost too much for me. I know where they are, but I'm trying to get to them as fast as possible before she receives the drink. Through the lights cutting in and out in the density of the crowd, I managed to see him give her the drink. I'm within 10 feet of them and she raises up her glass to take a sip. And at this point, I had to tell myself, fuck it, and barrel through the group of people that was separating us. Drinks spill everywhere, people start screaming at me and pushing me and cursing. I managed to turn my flashlight on strobe mode and point it at her. To my luck, she stopped herself from taking the sip. With the music raging on, I managed to get through to her by yelling in her ear, telling her that the man spiked her drink, the one who gave it to her. She immediately threw the drink on the ground and proceeded to scream at the man, calling him a complete fucker. She leapt towards the man who brought her the drink before he could say anything and before I could proceed with the next course of action. To my surprise, the man instantly swung at the woman. However, I managed to shoulder check him and absorb the blow. With one hand, I managed to keep the woman at bay, and with the other, I grabbed the man by the collar. The woman was ready to shred this man to pieces, and as much as I would love for her to go at it, we had a rule of no fights. So, at this point, the man felt cornered and angry. He managed to shove me off of him and make a run for it. I fell to the ground and tried to get up as fast as I could, but by the time that I recovered and chased him to the main lobby, he was already gone. Damn it. He's out there in the streets now. Nothing I can do besides let my crew know. I didn't even have enough information on him, and I didn't see his full face, nor did the woman know his name. I told my teammates to be on the lookout for him around the building. However, for the rest of the night, he wasn't by our venue. By the end of the show, we probably had 10 more ejections, but nothing like what happened before. When we closed down the building and clocked out, I decided to go to the bar with my coworkers and have a few drinks. I told them about what happened and the rest of the story, and they shared their stories of incidences like that, when the creep got away. For a few hours, we kept ordering rounds of drinks and retelling stories. But it was getting late and I had to go home. The walk back to my car was a bit far, which was good because I didn't want to drive under the influence. And I always park in this parking lot because it's secluded and it doesn't require me to pay. Eventually, I reached my car and I was trying to sober up, so I lit a cigarette. And as I got my cigarette lit, I heard a faint sound of footsteps. My ears perked up. I was rather alarmed because this parking lot is very secluded and I owned the only car that was currently in the parking lot. The distant footsteps got closer and closer. I felt more anxious as I heard them. I continued to smoke my cigarette and tried to gauge my surroundings. I've been in this situation before where I got mugged and my car stolen. The bushes in the parking lot were tall and big enough for cover, so I couldn't see past them. In this situation before, I freaked out and I tried to get into my car, and as I put the keys into the ignition, I looked up only to be staring down the barrel of a gun. However, this time, I was not going to make the same mistake. I knew whoever this was, they were close enough to pull the same shit. So, I tried to keep my cool and waited out on the hood of my car, hoping that this would pass. As the cigarette was nearly burned out, I tossed it and I went for another one. As I opened my pack, I accidentally dropped it. I reached down to pick it up, and when I looked back up, I saw a dark, shadowy figure between the parking lot light and the bushes about 15 feet away from me. The figure just stood there and cocked his head to the side with his hands behind his back. My heart was beating fast. I've been in this shitty situation before, but I know what the odds are. And I couldn't believe that it was happening again. I got up from the hood of my car and I decided to stand tall. I lit another cigarette and I waited for his move. If he had a gun, it's over. But if he had a knife or something like that, then the odds are better for me. As I stood up, the darkly cloaked person moved towards me slowly from the light. His head was down and he had a hood on, so I couldn't really see his face. But by the time he was 9 feet away from me, he looked up. And that's when I saw the man with the skull mask. He still had his mask on, and I could hear him breathing short and shallow breaths. My heart was flying off the wall at this point, but noticing his breath gave me a clue to his state of mind. Not only was he breathing short and shallow, his knees were shaking. He was angry, but I could also see that he was very scared. Now, in my experience, someone who is scared would give me an advantage. But being angry and scared means that he was about to do something stupid. As I stand here, I have a shit feeling that he's about to do something to me. I notice his left shoulder dipping as if he was grabbing something from behind him in his back pocket or something. I know for a fact that it was a weapon. As he reaches for whatever is behind his back, my anxiety is going through the roof. I look dead at his face and I don't blink. I'm expecting the worst to happen. I accept the situation that I am in and I brace myself. When the man's arm emerges from behind him, I witness a long black steel fixed blade unfold. It wasn't a gun, but this knife had a serrated edge on one side and it looked as though it was made to scramble insides. I was relieved it wasn't a gun, but it was still a lethal weapon. And as I was thinking about this, he took a step closer. Fuck. This is it. It's about to go down. And I don't know what came over me, but I did something that I look back on as one of the stupidest things I've ever done. I took a drag from my cigarette. I inhaled. And then I proceeded to say to him, "It's you. I knew you were a piece of shit when I saw you spiking that girl's drink. You ran like a coward and waited for me for 4 hours just so you can confront me with a fucking knife. Fuck you." When I said fuck you, I bucked at him with my hands drawn in defensive mode and with my cigarette lit in my mouth brightly from the deep breaths that I was taking. And I took a step forward. At this time, I was not thinking straight. My adrenaline was kicking in and my heart rate was out of control. The man wielded his knife up and proceeded to tell me, "You fucked with me. Now, I'm gonna fucking kill you right here in this parking lot with no witnesses and no one to rescue you." And at that very moment, he stepped in to lunge at me. I quickly flicked my cigarette at his face, which was covered by the mask. To my luck, the embers managed to stick on his eyepiece, which was covered by a thin black fabric. He covered his eye with his right hand and lunged with his left, the one with the blade in it. I moved to the side and I managed to grab the hilt of the blade with my left hand, and I elbowed him in the face with the other. As my elbow met his face, the hand that was holding the knife lost the grip, and the serrated knife sliced open my hand. The man recovered and then lunged at me again, and I felt a sharp needle-like pain in the upper part of my chest. That was it. Not only was my left hand cut open, but I got stabbed in the upper part of my fucking chest. We both paused as we were both shocked at what happened, and in that moment, I kneed him in the stomach, ripped his mask off, and punched him repeatedly in the face, over and over and over again. He was out, and I began to feel really weak as my adrenaline was wearing off. I managed to call 911 and give the location and a brief report of the incident to the dispatcher. I kept the blade in my chest so that I wouldn't cause more bleeding, especially because of the serrated edges. I tried to keep myself awake as long as possible. I could feel myself slipping. Luckily, I had zip ties in my cargo pants pocket that I used to bind fences together at work to create a barrier for the artist by the stage. So I managed to zip tie my wrist to minimize the bleeding from my cut hand. And after 6 minutes of agonizing pain and waiting, the police and ambulance showed up. While I was in the ambulance, I saw the man regain consciousness in cuffs and try to fight off the cops. But there was no running away from justice this time. But in the grand scheme of things, I was okay. I had a ton of stitches in my hand and chest, although I have limited mobility with closing my left hand. But to sum this up, I guess, what I've learned from this experience is that there are truly sinister people out there. But most importantly, I should probably park closer to work from now on, even if I have to pay. Thank you for watching my video. Like and subscribe, leave a comment. I'll do my best to respond, and I am always eager to hear your thoughts. I want to give special shout-outs to Mortis Media, Slumlocker, and to all my subscribers again. I value all of you, and I thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to my channel and work with me. I just thought about this, and I've decided that I am looking for new artwork for my videos. I feel like it's about time to get even more involved with my subscribers. If you have a website where you can make creepy artwork, I would definitely like to visit it and use a picture or two, not only to showcase, but to use it for my video background. I will give you a shout out and a link to your profile so that people can see your work, if I choose it and if you allow me to use your artwork. Now, I just want to throw out an idea there. I have a few new ideas for the next videos. I threw in this security story out there because it's unique. I respect anyone who strives to make the world a better place, but I feel as though security work is underrepresented and underappreciated. However, in that industry, people encounter crazy situations and crazy people that can leave them physically and mentally scarred. I feel compelled to add these types of stories to the queue of my next videos. Now, another genre that I haven't seen anyone really narrate on especially with scary stories, are scary tales of the deep. Yes, I mean frightening stories from scuba diving and being out at sea. I see tons of skinwalker stories, which I love, and I have made one, but I want to bring more in. I want to make the channel more diverse. Also, I go out of my way on my free time to talk to people and hear their stories, and I ask them permission to create a YouTube video about it. So, not all of my content is on Reddit. Some of them are from real people that I meet, and some I create. And if you have scary stories that you've personally experienced, I would totally like to hear it. And maybe, if I have your permission, you may see it featured in one of my future videos. Well, that sums up the message that I wanted to say in this outro, so until next time, stay scared and hear these nightmarish stories that I'm about to post tomorrow.